guys. Well, in this opportunity we are going to see the topic about sports, games and activities, and we are going to learn new words related to sports, games and activities as well. As you know, we are going to analyze some grammatical points like some modal verbs. For example, we have must, mustn't, have to and don't have to. And you're going to read and answer questions about some specific readings. And well, you're going to solve activities, different and varied activities, in order to develop reading, writing, listening, and in this case, well, speaking skills. What is the competence for this topic? Read various types of text in English as a foreign language, and the capability for this competence is reflect and evaluate the formal content and context of the written text. What is the objective or the indicator for this lesson? Compare text to each other to indicate common characteristics of textual types and discursive genres about sports, games, and other activities. Well, as you can see here, we have activity number 1. The instruction says match the words in the box to photos from A to O. As you can see here, we have the pictures and the photos of different sports, games and activities. And well, here we have a chart with varied sports, games and activities as well. So you have to match these words with the correct photo. Okay, so I think this activity is going to be so easy to solve, okay, but it depends on checking the meaning of these words. So let's check the pronunciation of each one of them. So we are going to repeat it, and we have the first word, badminton. The next word is board game, card game, climbing, cricket, dance class, diving, fishing, fitness class, golf, karate, puzzle, skateboarding, skiing, video game. So don't forget, you have to match these words with the photos you have in this part, okay? And that's it. Then you have to answer the questions according to the previous activity. Which ones do you do at your school? Do you play video games? Which are your favorite sports, games, or activities? Okay, so be free to answer these 3 questions in order to see the activities or the sports presented before. After that, you have to go to activity number 2. What are you going to do in activity number 2? You have to look at the photos presented before, and you have to write about your favorite sport or activity using these ideas. Here you have some specific points you have to take into account when you're going to write about your favorite sport, game or activity. For example, you have to consider the number of players, the sports kit, the special equipment, how you play this sport, this game or this activity, and who wins. Okay, and that's it. Now, for activity number 3, you have to read Mac's message and the climbing club rules. You have to answer the questions. Okay, before reading, you have to read these 4 questions. Okay, let's read it all together, and it says, what sort of club is school's on? Number 2, what does Max want his boyfriend to do? 3, can you climb? If not, would you like to learn? 4, what sports club are there in your school or local area? Do you belong to any of them? So here you have the reading, and you have to consider the information you have in this part, okay? So, to understand the text presented before, I suggest you to read and analyze the chart given here in these charts, okay? Here you have the explanation of the grammar given in the reading. So you have to consider the grammatical part, and in this case you have some modal verbs. You have the word must, you have the modal verb mustn't, the negative, have to and don't have to, the negative form of have to. Okay, here, let's focus on this part of the information. You have the use of must and mustn't, the modal verb must and mustn't, the affirmative and the negative way of saying, okay, tú debes or tú no debes. Okay, here you have the personal pronouns and the way you have to conjugate each one of them. For the positive, you have I, you, he, she, it, we, they. We use must. Okay, the modal verb or the verb used here is must go. The negative, I, you, he, she, it, we, and they mustn't go. Okay, here you have the auxiliary. It is working like an auxiliary. Okay, it doesn't change. It is the same for all the personal pronouns. So we use must and mustn't to talk about rules and obligations. For example, you must switch off your mobile phone in class. You mustn't eat or drink in the classroom. So when you want to say something in a negative way, you have to add the negative word. Okay, in this case is not, but you have here the contracted form. So we don't often use must in the question form. We prefer to use do. For example, do I, do you have to wear a swimming hat? Do you have to go to the English classes, for example, and so on. Here you have some activities to practice, okay? So pay attention to the grammar explained in this part, okay, in this first part. In the next part, you have the use of the modal verb have to in the affirmative way and don't have to for the negative. So here you have the conjugation for each personal pronoun with the positive in the positive way, in the positive form, and you have the negative, the question, and the short answers. Okay, as you can see here, I, you, we, they goes with have to, an infinitive verb. Okay, he, she, the third personal pronoun goes with has to, and it is combined with an infinitive verb as well. For the negative, in the negative way, you have to use the word don't or do not, plus, here you have the modal verb have to and infinitive verb. The difference is in the third person or in the third personal pronoun, you have he, she, it. It is combined with the auxiliary verb doesn't or does not, plus the modal verb have to and go. Okay, don't forget that you have a difference here for the negative and for the affirmative. Has to for the affirmative and doesn't have to for the negative. And what about the question form? Well, here I have an additional example. Do you or do we, they have to go? Does he or she have to go? The short answers, yes, I, you, we, they do. Yes, he, she does. No, I, you, we, they don't. No, he, she, it doesn't. Okay, the definition here or important information to consider is we use have to say something is necessary and don't have to say something isn't necessary. You have to bring sandwiches, you need to bring, but you don't have to bring a drink. You don't need to bring something like this. Okay, here you have to read it carefully to solve the in this part. Okay, now activity 4, read the climbing club again and answer the questions. Yeah, this question is related to the it's related to the first activity where you have to read the text. Yeah, where you have to read the text and you have to answer these questions. Activity number 5, read the dance class rules and you have to rewrite them using the modal verb must, mustn't, and don't have to. Okay, so it means that you have to write the negative way, the opposite. Okay, for example, don't chew gum or bring food into the class. So what do you have to use? Must, mustn't, or don't have to? So you have to decide according to the previous explanation I gave in the grammatical part. Okay, activity activity number 5. Read the dance class rules. Rewrite them using must, mustn't, and don't have to. Okay, that's okay. I have explained it before. And you have to solve activity number 6. What are you going to do in this part? You're going to make an album about your favorite activities. What information do you have to consider here? Sports, yeah, in this case, sports characteristics, some rules, well, how to play it, how can you win this game or sport or activity. Okay, it depends on you. Well, that's it. Thank you very much for your attention. Okay, that's all.